All right. Crime Cuisine,
Crime Cuisine.
Episode 2.
All right.
The only show where true crime meets your taste buds. In this week's episode, we've got a plethora of stories dealing with nastiness in your mouth.
That's no.
Anyways, we're deep diving into humanity's oldest, most efficient murder weapon, some would say, which is poison. So the name of the episode is Poison on the Pallet.
That's nice. Very nice.
So for the appetizer and the side dish, we're gonna start off with you this week. You've got what? Something about Giulia Tofana and the Chicago Tylenol murders?
Yup. We went from one end of the spectrum all the way to the other, and it's super time travel.
And then we're gonna finish it off with the curry killer of Japan for our main course, and for dessert, who doesn't love a story about a nanny going on a killing spree? Just saying. Nannie Doss is where we're going to end it up before we give you our recipes for the week. So stick around because the recipes are going to be yummy. And the murder is going to be chilly.
That was good. All right. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right. So, way back on September 29th of 1982. It was the 80s. In suburban Chicago. Suburbia.
Leave it to Chicago.
12-year-old Mary Kellerman woke up with a sore throat. That happens all the time.
As does Finn Balor.
My bad. Should probably turn my volume down. Whoops. So 12-year-old Mary Kellerman woke up with a sore throat. Her parents gave her one extra strength Tylenol capsule because they were wanting to knock that sore throat straight into the butt.
Tylenol for a sore throat?
It was the 80s.
Oh, yeah, that was back when Tylenol cured everything.
Yeah, everything. Sadly, Mary was dead by 7 a.m.
Wait, hold on. What time did she take it?
I don't know. It doesn't say. Early.
So early in the morning, or she died overnight?
I believe it was that morning.
Okay.
That same day, Adam Janis, a 27-year-old postal worker, also took some Tylenol for some chest pain. He collapsed and then died. Hours later, his brother and sister-in-law took Tylenol from the same bottle while they were mourning his death. They died hours later.
Wait. So you're saying like
all of this happened in the same
little
day?
Little girl was in a different place,
Yeah.
and then this guy was in a different place in Chicago, and they all took Tylenol and they all died.
All of them the same day. 2 bottles of Tylenol. 4 people are now dead.
Fuck you, Tylenol, but don't sue me.
Obviously the common thread here, each had taken Tylenol capsules laced with cyanide.
I think that's going to be a common theme.
Cyanide?
Because that's just like, seems to be the, I guess, fastest, most easiest way to kill somebody.
I mean...
And it's one of those ones that, is it cyanide or arsenic that you can't smell? I think...
Is cyanide the one that smells like almonds?
I don't know. We're going to have to figure that out.
This is going to be a bonus scene where we look it up.
Yeah, you can keep talking while I'm looking.
So, in total, 7 people died in the Chicago area over just a matter of days. Investigators discovered several bottles of Tylenol had been tampered with. Someone had actually opened the capsules, filled them with potassium cyanide, placed them back on the store shelves, and just waited. Clearly, it wasn't an accident. This is murder. Calculated, anonymous, and terrifyingly random. Imagine just taking a painkiller for, a sore throat, a headache, anything, and then just, you have now taken a fatal dose of one of the oldest poisons out there. Police and the FBI launched one of the largest manhunts in American history. But there's a problem here. So there's no fingerprints, no witnesses, and no surveillance are in drugstores right now. Just mom and pop places.
And this was in the 80s, so they didn't have tamper-proof seals or anything on bottles back then, right?
So we're gonna get there. So this is actually what leads to that. So Johnson and Johnson, Big Daddy Johnson and Johnson, who make Tylenol, they recalled over 31 million bottles, costing them more than $100 million. But their swift and transparent response became a case study in crisis management. So they introduced the tamper evident packaging, which is now kind of a standard, the little seal that you see on bottle. Like you can crack open the lid, but there's a thing there. So they introduced that, and yet the killer was never actually caught. So a man by the name of James William Lewis actually sent a letter to Johnson and Johnson demanding $1 million to stop the killings. So he was actually convicted of extortion, but never actually tied to the murders.
See, and there's a lot more to that because I remember we watched something on this. So if you guys get a chance, you're gonna have to go watch the Tylenol Murder series on Netflix because it deep dives into this.
It's so good.
And this whole case is just, but what the fuck happened?
All I'm saying is, even it's alleged, but like there's so many signs that point to this man. There
But,
really is.
I don't think this guy did the Tylenol murders. I do
He did
think
something.
he killed the other person he's
He did
accused of.
something.
But I think that somebody was just banging his wife and fired his wife because she wanted more, and he wrote an angry letter.
All I'm saying is there were some sketchy things that happened with Johnson and Johnson's response. You know, it's just when something like this happens, you don't just be like, "Oh my god!" No, there were some sketchy things that were going on. So the Tylenol murders actually changed, obviously, consumer behavior. So before 1982, bottles could be opened with a simple twist. And then afterward, after all of this, the seals, the foil covers, the little safety locks where you have to like push down and twist, and the actual warnings on the bottles became mandatory. There's actually warnings on all of them.
Oh, not to take the medicine if the tamper seal's gone.
Yes. The FDA overhauled drug safety laws. Congress passed the Federal Anti-Tampering Act, making it a federal offense to manipulate consumer products. This wasn't just a crime, it was a public health catastrophe that shaped how we handle medicine, or really a lot of things, actually. It kind of started with medicine.
Because how many people was it that actually ended up that they...
So 7 people died in the Chicago area. However, while there's no like specific number on the potentials, I personally think there's a lot more, because if you actually dive into that documentary, it actually dives into those poison bottles could have been anywhere, like anywhere. So it's another one of those things of how many people actually passed away from this that we don't know about, because it was the 80s, I guess, before social media and instant communication and all of that. So,
But didn't it happen again in the mid 90s? Remember on the documentary, I think it said something about it happening again in the 90s, like right as they were coming back, and that's what led to everybody looking at him again.
Oh, yeah.
Back when Tylenol was running there, I trust my Tylenol ad, and then somebody else died. Because that one was like that one though. That lady got pills from a hospital.
Yes, yes. It's another one that like it kind of makes you think maybe it's not just one person. Maybe it's not an accident. So on that note, stay safe, stay skeptical, and check the seal.
And just so you know, smell your Tylenol. If it smells like almonds, don't take it because it's got cyanide in it.
Yeah, because that's the poison that's in the Edgar Allan Poe poem.
Yeah, because the crazy stuff that you find out when you watch that documentary is that there's a big chance it could have actually been just Johnson & Johnson poisoning everybody.
But once
Because
again,
they used what they say, they used cyanide to test if there was cyanide in the Tylenol or something.
all I'm saying is it was real sketchy because they burned all of the bottles.
Yeah.
So, like, there's no evidence. There's no going back and checking them. They
Yeah.
burned them all.
The fact that they were allowed to do their own investigation.
Yep, all in-house stuff. No, like, which
and they ended up saying that there was like they found only like
they found a handful.
Yeah, it was like 20 contaminated bottles or something like that, and it was all in the one state or some big cover up stuff, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Don't kill me, Tylenol. So yeah, if you take your Tylenol, make sure it don't smell like almonds, because if it does, don't trust that shit.
Check the seal.
And this next story, you know what? Because of you, this story has become like one of my favorite things ever. I mean, I made the song about it. I've made the little videos for it. And it's just, what would you say? She's like the OG Black Widow, but not really for herself, for other women.
She is the female Robin Hood, kind of.
I mean, not
if Robin Hood was darker.
Not robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. She's just helping people kill people. But
I mean,
tomato. I digress.
Yeah. Okay. So next we're gonna talk about the amazing woman who is Giulia Tofana. All right. So, are you ready? We're gonna set the scene. Okay. 17th century Rome. The fashion, frilly. The men, terrible. No offense. And legal rights for women, somewhere between none and... Are you kidding? Is that good? Our people. Alright, so in this world, divorce is completely off the table, and a bad marriage was more or less a life sentence, and it's often a short one. This is where Giulia Tofana came in, with a drop of her signature concoction, the legendary Aqua Tofana. She helped hundreds of women escape cruel husbands by turning them into widows. Efficient, discreet, and, as they say, till death do us part. So Giulia didn't just kind of whip up a poison in her basement. She actually ran a full-on murder startup. A little MLM going on. She had distribution. You finish coughing.
Is it MLM for murder?
Yeah.
Multi-level murdering?
Yeah. Okay. All right, so she had distribution, loyal clients, and brand recognition. Aqua Tofana was actually disguised as a face lotion, which, I mean, if you think about it, says a lot about how often that people were just drinking whatever was on the counter in 1600s Italy. You know, it was literally just kept on the counter.
Well, I don't. With it being disguised as face lotion, I think that's just so men wouldn't touch it.
Well, yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I was just, oh, that's face lotion. And then she cooks you dinner and bloop, bloop. Little face lotion in the pot.
So, this product, flawless. It works slowly over days, mimicking natural illness. I mean, it's crazy. So, Giulia's empire actually crumbled in 1659 when one of her customers got cold feet. Literally. The husband survived, and Giulia's name came out faster than, lightning. So she fled to a church, invoking sanctuary laws, but Rome frankly didn't care. She was dragged out, tortured, and confessed to helping overkill 600 men. Probably more.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
600. At that point, it's not serial killing, it's franchise level. Like, that's some serious stuff. She was eventually executed, though records are vague on how. Some say she was strangled, others say she died with a sassy comment on her lips and her eyeliner still flawless. So, Giulia Tofana.
Didn't you say, like, the poison that she made was such a combination of shit that they even, I think today, they still haven't technically figured out what all was in it?
They have no idea.
16 different fucking poisons.
It was possibly a mixture of quite a few different things.
The only thing they know for sure was in it was like what, deadly nightshade and cyanide.
That's
That's
even
it.
rumors. That's even rumors. There's like nothing. The recipe went with her. So like when she passed away, it went with her. Nobody else knows what is in it because she made it all herself.
How easy it
600.
was to get away with shit before technology. Like, good God,
Right?
600 people. That's a lot of assholes, though, you know?
Because I mean, when I looked into her, it was saying that there was actually like a process. You didn't just go in and just cry, my husband beats me, and she'd be like, oh my gosh, well, here, take this. No, she like fully vetted you out. You had to have someone that would vouch for you, and like there was a whole process. Like it's not just anybody that got their hands on this.
Poison, poison, poison. That's why, what will they say? You can't eat at everybody's house. So the one that I've got is about quote unquote the curry killer from Japan.
I'm not gonna lie, some curry sounds really good.
So as we all know, I butcher names, but I am kind of an anime nerd, so maybe I can halfway get these Japanese names right. Wakama, Japan, July 25th, 1998. The setting, a neighborhood festival in full swing, filled with music, dancing, and the comforting scent you would think of homemade curry wafting through the streets. Uncommonly known, curry is actually a pretty popular food in events over there in that part of Japan as a symbol of community and warmth. But on this particular day, that same curry pot would serve up a mass dose of death. And it's one of the deadliest mass poisonings in modern Japanese history. Over 60 people were struck by violent symptoms such as vomiting, convulsions, and collapse or fainting.
Oh my goodness.
4 people died. The cause? A super large dose of arsenic had been deliberately slipped into the pot. That's what's okay. So cyanide is the one that smells like almonds. Arsenic, I think, is the one that has no smell and no taste. So the investigation that followed took a couple years, and at the center of the storm was Masumi Hayashi, a 37-year-old housewife and mother of 4. Outwardly, she seemed unremarkable, quiet, perhaps a bit lame, some would say, but certainly not the type you would expect to commit mass murder. Masumi's dark past soon began to surface in the fact that she had already been under quiet suspicion from earlier incidents involving poisoning members of her own family. Like, come on. Obviously, the person who was there and everybody got sick is probably the person who had previously poisoned people.
Right?
Like, come on. It's 1998. You can't tell me they weren't like, oh yeah, you, get the fuck over here. Anyways, her previous poisonings included her mother-in-law and a former employer who had fallen seriously ill, and one died under questionable circumstances while she was nearby each time. And from both, she benefited financially. So, motive for those two. So you have someone who you clearly know, all right, she'll fucking kill somebody for some money or just because, and you're not going to automatically, like, why did this take years, Japan? That's what I want to know.
I'm not gonna lie, I could totally see this lady just walking around with like that sound in the back of her head that's just like, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious.
Yeah.
I could just like, she's walking around because like that audio has to be playing repeat on like in the back of her head. You know what I mean?
That's the birth of where that audio came from. Somebody hacked into this lady's brainwaves and could understand what was going through her mind. Or somebody asked her in a prison interview, "Hey, what were you thinking the whole time this mass poisoning was being investigated?" Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
She's like the bad guy from the Pink Panther over here.
Oh my gosh.
Just
Anyways, eventually investigators decided to look into her and they found arsenic in her home, specifically in the form of tetra-arsenic oxide, the same compound used in pest control, pretty commonly in Japan, and just so happened to be the same stuff that was found in the curry. No effing way.
it's not her. She's holding it for a friend.
Her husband's job was in pest control, so I mean, obviously that provided an easy explanation for why that was in the home. But witnesses claim that she showed up late to the festival, she was acting strange, and she was even seen near the curry pot, which I mean, that's like the least convincing part of all that evidence. Like, who was the person?
The curry pot.
Who was the person that threw that out there? They were like, she was acting kind of shifty, and she's poisoned people before. And the one guy was like, you know what? She was by the curry. I saw her. She was by the curry. Like, she was the only fucking person out of the 60 people that was by the. It's a party. Of course, she's gonna be by the curry.
Yeah, he was watching her because he was like, this lady's going to eat all of it. I'm going to watch her and make sure she doesn't eat it all. That's what's going on.
Anyways, so there was no direct evidence of her tampering with it. Despite the lack of eyewitnesses claiming to catch her in the act, it was all circumstantial evidence and, not much they could do. But in 2002, she was found guilty of 4 counts of murder and multiple counts of attempted murder, and she was sentenced to death by hanging.
What? Hold up. What year was this?
2002.
By hanging?
It's Japan.
That's
took
true.
all the way from 1998 to 2002. So 4 years.
You got away with it. Go somewhere else.
Just hanging out.
Oh my goodness.
She believed she was unfairly judged because of her past discrepancies and judged by media frenzy.
Oh, she'd have been
Others
alive now.
Felt that her cold demeanor during the whole trial and refusal to express remorse made her guilty. She maintained her innocence the whole time, even up until the day of the hanging. But she got home. So,
oh my goodness.
The Curry Killer case was again, one of the most well-known, deadliest mass poisonings in Japan's history, and it's, pretty modern. So
that's crazy. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Get away from the curry, Teresa.
So from festival foods laced with arsenic, we're going to now move to pies baked with death.
It's a secret ingredient.
We now turn from the bustling streets of Japan to the rocking chairs of America, to America's most cheerful serial killer.
That sounds awful.
For dessert, we have Nannie Doss, the Giggling Granny.
Ew, no.
Born Nancy Hazel in 1905 in Blue Mountain, Alabama.
Nancy Hazel.
Nannie Doss grew up in a household that was anything but sweet. Her father was strict and abusive, often forcing his daughters to work on the family farm rather than attend school. And an early head injury from a train accident, which she later claimed affected her mental stability, set the tone for a pretty chaotic life. By the time she was a teenager, Nannie had developed an obsession with romance magazines and Lonely Hearts columns, dreaming of the perfect husband and fairy tale love. But what she delivered was anything but romantic. Nannie married her first husband at 16, which, I mean, pretty common for back then. I feel like that's might even been late for back then, it feels like. Together they had 4 children, 2 of whom, have died mysteriously. Wonder if she killed them.
I know we're not going to insinuate she killed those babies.
Her husband later fled in fear, claiming that Nannie was unstable and possibly responsible for their children's death. Over the next few decades, she married 5 times,
Jesus.
and nearly every husband she had
Died.
died. Often after complaining of stomach issues and then suddenly falling ill. Her preferred weapon? Again, arsenic. Carefully stirred into food, coffee, or pies that she would love to bake from time to time. But she didn't just stop at her husband, because why would she do that? She's a sweet little old lady.
No, she's not.
Nobody's gonna know.
Always question the old ladies.
Oh, she poisoned her mother, her 2 sisters, a grandson, and even her own daughters. Sometimes her motives were financial, like life insurance, things like that. But other times it seemed like she really just did it because she was bored.
Find better hobbies or something. Don't kill people. You know what I mean?
Bored. Let me bake a death pie.
Just bake a pie. Bake a regular old pie and then sit there and then just like eat your feelings for a little bit. You'll be better by the time you're done.
I feel like, you know, the drink covers that they have for drinks nowadays so that women don't get roofied?
Yep.
I feel like it should have been invented back then because of her. Because I could just picture this devious little old lady sitting at a diner, and fucking Jim Bob down the way says something that pisses in her Cheerios, and he goes to the bathroom, and she just sneaks over there and is like, "I'll teach you, you little motherfucker." And just dumps a little bit of arsenic in his coffee
God.
and gives it a stir.
And he just collapses. She's like, I would like my check now, please. I don't know what happened there, but I'd like to go home.
And she was the first one that when somebody was like, "Oh my God, Jim Bob's dead," she's like, "Not Jim Bob, no!"
He was my favorite. Let me clutch my pearls.
I used to make him meatloaf on Sundays.
Probably a master at the tears. Just on command. Just completely just distraught.
Now, knowing all that information, despite the pattern, for some reason, again, nobody connected the dots. For years, her cheerful disposition and grandmotherly cheer and appearance and love for cooking helped her fly under the radar.
Are your two people related?
It's her daughter.
Like, seriously? Are these broads related?
That is, until the suspicious death of her final husband, Samuel Doss, in 1954. He had recently recovered from a mysterious illness and was discharged from the hospital, only to die days later after eating a home-cooked meal. This time, the attending doctor was suspicious because of, obviously, he just left the hospital after being sick. They couldn't figure out what it was. And then, he's good and then dies. Come on. Finally, a doctor was smart enough to realize. So, he ran some tests, and the discovery, a fatal dose of arsenic.
So hold up, this last husband was the only one that they checked for poisoning?
I fucking guess.
And did nobody take notes from the first? Because he's the only one that lived, right? Was the first husband?
Yep.
Because he just like pieced out and he was the only one that survived. And he's like, I told all of you. Nobody listened.
So police brought Nannie in for questioning, and the worst part about it wasn't even the confession. It was her laughter.
Oh, God.
Apparently just non-stop giggling through her detail of over 11 murders, remarking that her last husband annoyed her by not letting her watch the TV when she wanted to.
Okay. All right. Got it. I need to watch my soap. I'm not watching another football game. Let me watch my soaps.
Her trial obviously, shocked a lot of people for what it was back then. It's the 50s. It's not like but imagine if that shit would have happened today. Like, it would be everywhere, all over the TikTokies and everything. But the thing that stunned people the most is just, again, her utmost non-remorse. Like, she, during the trial, was like she was doing a performance. She was joking and giving anecdotes about each victim. even commenting about the headlines that were coming out in newspapers, joking about it. She was declared legally sane
Are we sure?
and pled guilty only to avoid the death penalty, but still received a life sentence. So that was one of those situations where they're like, you know what? If you just tell us you did it, we won't kill you, but you're still going to die in prison, but
Wasn't she
we
like,
won't kill you.
wasn't she like 80 years old? How much does she have
Yeah.
left?
So this was in 1954. I assume like 55, 56 is probably when she got sentenced, and she died in prison in 1965.
It's not even that much longer.
Smiling until the end.
So terrifying.
To this day, there's still places in the town that have images of her with a warm smile and an apron tied neatly with her deadly recipe book in her hand.
Oh my gosh, I just looked her up. What on earth? Is that not terrifying?
Oh, yeah, we're putting that picture up for the story for sure.
Oh my god.
She looks crazy.
This is some like, I see this lady in my nightmares.
Yeah, she's like the Hat Man.
Gosh.
Holy shit, that's creepy.
Trigger warning.
All right, what recipes do you have?
So I actually have some drinks. Okay.
What you got?
All right. So for the Tylenol Murders, so I have a drink called the Sealed and Safe Shooter. All right. So the ingredients, we've got a half ounce of white cream de menthe, a half ounce of Irish cream liquor, like, Bailey's, a half ounce of black sambuca or coffee liquor, and then an optional, like, little ring or, like, on the rim of sanding sugar plus, like, some crushed Altoids. Okay. So, the layered visual is meant to mimic, like, a gel capsule. And then the minty flavor, obviously, because mint is like a pretty common medical. And then, of course, the rim with the crushed stuff on it is meant to echo the tamper-evident texture, but safely edible. I'm not gonna lie, this sounds delicious. Minty,
And
coffee,
dangerous.
I know.
Not deadly dangerous, but deadly dangerous because you just get fucking wasted because you drink too many of them.
I also have a non-alcoholic version for anybody that doesn't drink like fish out of water like I do. If you layer mint syrup, cream, and some cold brew concentrate in a glass over ice, and then it says garnish with a paper seal or a cocktail pick through a sugar cube.
That sounds interesting. What else you got?
All right, for our Aqua Tofana, I have it's called the Lethal Ladies Elixir. All right, so an ounce of Saint Germain. Says because every good poison starts with flowers. An ounce of vodka, a half ounce of white cream to cacao, half ounce of lemon juice, a splash of tonic water, and then optional of edible glitter. Because sparkle is the last thing a man sees before the lights go out. Shake everything but the tonic over ice. And then strain, and then top it off with the tonic, and then says garnish with a rosemary sprig or a knowing smirk.
Nice.
I would drink both of those.
Yeah.
What do you got? You got food?
So for me, when we post it, I'll put a more in detailed recipe for it. But I've got a arsenic-free festival curry that is it's a Japanese curry roux as the base, and it's got potatoes, carrots, and onions and chicken in it. And you could, if you choose, put a little bit of black garlic in there, give it a little bit of punch, might make few people think they're poisoned if you got vampires in your house. And then my other one is Nannie's Not So Deadly Pie.
Oh goodness. What kind of pie?
It is a buttermilk pecan pie.
Okay.
With a touch of bourbon and cinnamon.
Has
Topped
to be.
with a sweet sugar glaze and a black walnut crumble.
Nice.
So I didn't do the whole put out the recipe, I didn't think about that we were going to read it. I just put the basics of making it, but I'll put the full recipe with it in the description or wherever we put the stuff.
Okay.
Okay. So, that concludes episode number 2, Crime Cuisine.
Nice.
The only true crime show that meets your palate. Hopefully it doesn't kill you.
Check your seals. And check your husbands.
If you smell almond, just put it down. Unless, of course, it's an almond, and then it's okay.
We'll probably still question it.
Till next time.